ladies and gentlemen. And as I say, hopefully with a smile, if that's not a description, it's certainly our aspiration. And I hope that's true for you and for me, because we certainly need more civility, more kindness, more graciousness, which tends to be the characteristic of those men and women who are ladies and gentlemen. The title, How to Be Happy in an Unhappy World. Well, no, I don't have the answer. As I oftentimes said to people who ask me some difficult questions like that, if I had the answer to that question, do you think I would be spending time talking to you when I could be talking to people who would give me lots of money for doing that? And I did it hopefully with a smile, and it was just simply a way for me to acknowledge that I didn't know the answer to that. But hey, that's an important question. Good for you. Hey, if you and I can find the answer to that, good for us. We will do well. Well, I don't have the answer to how to be happy in an unhappy world, but unfortunately, that is partly sparked by the fact that just before I sat down today, this Tuesday, that I got something from the Gallup organization, and they have done a study of the world's emotions. And they've looked at the happiness factor around the world, and I'm going to dig into their report. But guess what the report is? Unhappiness is on the rise around the world. And why do you think that is, and what can we do about it? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about briefly today. Hopefully it'll be helpful. I guarantee you I'm going to make some suggestions that in your life and business at least would be helpful and useful. So we'll go for it. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and it begins right now. Well, here we go. First of all, we're going to answer the question from yesterday because, as you may recall, and if you don't, go back and listen to it because it still has a great question for you, is will the man be allowed to pray by himself on the 50-yard line? And literally, just after I had recorded the program, guess what happened? The decision came through in the United States Supreme Court, and their verdict is that the man who was fired for that 6 years ago, it was unjust, it was discrimination, and they ordered that he be returned and compensated for what they did to him. And we'll see where that goes. But it was, I believe, a good decision. Now, the problem is, as somebody has pointed out, is that the men and women who are running the school system didn't have to do that. Now they're going to spend, obviously, a mountain of money in back pay. Obviously, they're probably going to get hit with damages. Obviously, they're probably going to have to pay attorney's fees. And they're going to have to be humiliated in the decision they made. And that will cost them credibility in their community. And the man will get his job back. And I think, according to at least in the interview, he has no hard feelings. He just wants his job back. He wants to do what he loves to do, and that is to coach young boys in how to become young men in the game of playing football. Good for him. But, you know, it could have been very easily handled, where the school district just said, very simply, we don't endorse what he does because he's doing it after the game. We don't condemn what he does. He is free to be who he is. And then you're not endorsing it. Then you're not condemning it. You're just simply saying, it happens. And you know what? That would have solved it. They wouldn't have to do with any legal thing because it isn't the government endorsing religion or commending religion. They're just simply saying he's expressing it. We don't endorse it. We don't condemn it. so be it. And it's done. And all of that trouble would have been taken care of. Done. But because they were not very smart, and because they were in all kinds of other problems, and they were poorly counseled by legal counsel, they've got themselves into a mess. And that's part of the problem. I think today there is something I also want to point out to you, and that is I have just gotten a summary. And by the way, make sure you get involved right now through what is called the Blink system, through Thinker. What artists are now doing, creators are now doing, and I will get involved in it too, is they write a book. Well, of course, they want to buy the book, but what they allow companies to do, and sometimes they make an arrangement, is that you can subscribe to a service, and what will happen is you'll get a 7 to 10 page summary of the book, or maybe a 7 to 10 minute or 15 minute Blink, as Blink calls it. Great, check them out. Blink. Thinker, Thinkr. That's another service out there. And Get Abstract. These are people who are doing a good thing. Now, that's part of the problem. What the man says, and his name is, okay, here we go, Bryan Caplan. Bryan Caplan, and it's Bryan Caplan. And he just simply says, the case against education, why the education system is a waste of time and money. And he said, here are his major points. Very little of what students learn in school will ever be used on the job. Most teachers are people who have never left school, so how can they prepare students for the real world? Signaling is the explanation for the gap between education and job skills, and he points out that telling people they should go to college or hiring people because they went to an exclusive or a high-class college doesn't mean a thing. It simply means that they got certified because they went to that school, and there is no guarantee at all that they have learned anything. It certifies that they went through the course, the class, and the rigors of getting a diploma. So that's not going to work. The inflated power of the diploma doesn't benefit society. The society returns on education are not merely as grand as the propaganda suggests. There's so much waste in the education industry, and everyone's afraid to say it. Well, I can tell you, first 12 years of my life, I was in the public education system, and it was very good. I'm grateful for the experience. I learned a lot. I learned a lot that helped me in life, but I saw it coming. Now, this is going back a number of years, almost 40 years. I saw it coming. I said, something's wrong here. Something's going wrong. And there could be a number of things that I could talk about in later explanations, but I just decided that no, I wasn't going to want to be in public education the way it was turning out to be. And so I started my experimental life at the age of 33, and I've been doing it for a good long time, finding different ways to express myself, make a contribution, to be a true entrepreneur, doing things I love, doing things I had to do. All of that I had to do. But guess what? The best education I got, and I've gone to some very fine schools, was a trade school education. The ladies and gentlemen who taught me how to be a broadcaster in 18 months, I learned more there about life and business and how to be a man in the world, in communication. College was nice. High school was nice. Grad school, I learned something there, but what I learned was a good reason for some of the stuff I already knew, because I didn't go back to graduate school. until I was in my late 40s, after I'd already had 20 years of life experience. And then the wise men, and they were old-fashioned people, not the new breed of professor. These were people, many of them were, veterans of the Korean War, World War II, that generation. And they came back, and they were no nonsense. They make me work hard. They kept and held me accountable. There was no great inflation. It was a struggle. And I went through and met some wonderful people there. So, yes, the case against education, why the system is a waste of time and money. Okay, now what I want you to do is to respond to this. Now, another source that I'm going to go through is, all right, see, I wanted to give credit to people who I think are doing some good stuff. This is from Get Abstract and was called Mastering Civility, a Manifesto for the Workplace. And it's written by a woman named Christine Porath. And I can learn a lot. I don't have to pay for this except maybe $1 or $2 in subscriptions. You know, as this guy in the education thing said, you know what? You can learn a lot without high cost. And he even suggests oftentimes the very teachers who are really good at a university, they'll let you sit in on their class if it's a good class, because they don't mind. And here you can learn the same thing that the people who are spending $60,000 to $70,000 a year, and in fact learn it yourself. But of course you don't get a diploma, but you can learn. And what's the goal of education? The goal is not to get a diploma. The education is to become a learned, wise, intelligent ladies and gentlemen who can make a difference in the world and make a contribution and be happy. Here we go. One more shot. As I said, Christine Porath, Civility 101. Begin the journey to improved civility for yourself and your organization by focusing on 3 basics. One of the things I really encourage people to do, first of all, I very much encourage someone to make sure your organization has a CHO, a Chief Hospitality Officer. And their job is the welcoming of clients and guests and to create the experience. And their job is to also help turn the culture of the organization into one of hospitality, civility, and guess what? Profitability. That's right. Because if you do those 2 things, the profitability will more than likely come. Here's what Ms. Porath says. Begin the journey by doing these 3 basics. The first, civility fundamental, requires you to smile more. When you smile, you feel happier and more relaxed. Okay, how to be happy? You lift other people's moods. All right. The second fundamental is to build authentic relationships with your staff members, get to know them, and encourage them to get to know one another and acknowledge their work and their efforts. Let me tell you, this is a very sad story, but it happened. My wife and I worked in an organization, and actually it was a religious organization. We worked very, very hard, and not once did the leadership ever sit down with Karen and I, and we were trying to make a number of contributions, and they never sat down and took an hour and said, Stan, tell us your story. You've been around the world, done a lot of things. Tell me about it. And the same thing for my wife. Never did they do that. One of the best things you can do is listen to people. Just take time to get to know them, which is the third fundamental. Third fundamental is to sharpen your listening skills. Get rid of distractions, focus your attention, make eye contact, ask good questions, be very present. When people know they have been heard, they feel a deeper sense of connection. Okay? Just let that sit on your head for a while. All right, we're at 15 minutes, so that's plenty of time for today. So I hope that's been helpful and useful to you. I'm Stan Houston. These are just some interesting ideas, and we'll be right back to close it up. Thank you once again. We're going to check the Gallup poll out, and you can probably get that. Just look for the Gallup organization and their report on the unhappy world. That might be helpful in your leadership. Again, the great book by Brian Kaplan, The Case Against Education, and of course, Mastering Civility by Christine Porath. Why don't you check some of those things out? And by the way, I know I can be helpful to you. As I said, one person told me that my suggestion to have a CHO, a Chief Hospitality Officer, was one of the best decisions he ever made. He said it changed everything in how we ran the company and how we did it. That was vital, a CHO. And I said, and a CWO, a Chief Wisdom Officer, a man or a woman, and they're probably going to have to be a little bit older, who just simply can be there, not because they have an educated mind. It's because they have a very present mind to the world they live in, to the people that they meet, and they have experiences to share. They may not be highly educated, but they're highly intuitive. They're highly in wisdom, insight, and truth. Check that out. Okay, I can be helpful to you. Again, I'm in the business of helping you be more interesting. Because you know what? If you are interesting, you will have interesting ideas and you'll meet interesting people. And what'll happen is you'll have greater insight, you'll have greater influence, and then you will have greater income. And we can help you do that. So why don't you reach out to me? And don't ask me what course that I will give them, because I will give them a course if you want, but it will be one that is designed especially for you. As we'll learn tomorrow, the most important words in the English language are just that. This is for you. I'm Stan Houston. This has been for you, and tomorrow will be for you too, because you're one of the most important persons in the world, and I want to treat you that way. And always close with a benediction. So in these unhappy and challenging times, I wish you the best and blessings, and may your day be blessed. May it go well for you and your family and those you love and those you care for. And see if you can't do that for more people every day. Take care. Bye for now.